Good evening, everybody. This is Gene from NYC, and I just want to start off the video by thanking the 30 lovely subscribers that I have. I think I've doubled my subscriber count by in about a month, I believe it is. I think I had around 14 or 15 when I started this about a month ago, and now I'm at 30. So to everyone who subscribed before I was making videos, after I started making videos, thank you for your subscription. I am sincerely humbled by the fact that you actually want to listen to me ramble. I would like to welcome a few new subscribers. If I miss your name, please, I'm not trying to miss your name. I just have a bad memory, especially when it comes to names. So, J. Patrick Pote, who is someone I've seen often in the Comicsgate and Comic Critic channels. Welcome, J. Patrick. Nice to see you. The Hateful Critic 34 Montano, thank you for your subscription. Hammer, all caps. Biotech, not caps. Thank you for your subscription. I believe it's a Mr. Jack Ripner. Thank you for your subscription. And Bryant Mitchell, who's left a few comments on my videos, thank you for your subscription. So tonight I should say, video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about something related to geekdom, but not necessarily a comic or anything of that nature. I'm going to be talking a little bit about myself. See, I wanted to address something that Sana Amanat said in her, there was this Vogue, and I covered it. I have 2 videos on it. There was this Vogue article that came out in March of last year. And in this article, in this puff piece, I should say, she says that she was at first intimidated by the male-dominated spaces that is comic books and other media. And this video is not necessarily to refute her. I have no say over how she personally felt, but I just wanted to give my experience being in quote-unquote male-dominated spaces for most of my life, being a tomboy. I have a unique, I shouldn't say unique, because I'm not the only tomboy in the world, but I have a different perspective than her, being that I have been both in female spaces and male spaces, again, by virtue of being a tomboy born female, but I tend to have a more masculine personality and just more masculine interests. I'm that girl who likes dude stuff, to put it simply. So I just wanted to briefly discuss, some things that I've experienced in life and talk about my experiences in female spaces as opposed to male spaces and why I prefer male spaces. Why am I a tomboy? Why am I the girl who likes dude stuff? So I think, to sum it up, and I really spent a lot of time thinking about this, I thought about this for about most of the week. I think when I look back on my childhood and my young adulthood, the difference between, for me, and I want to be clear, it's just for me. I'm not speaking on behalf of women or other tomboys. I'm just talking about my experiences. The difference for me is that I found sincere acceptance in one group and not in the other. When I am in male-dominated spaces, such as comic books, video games, pro wrestling, so on and so forth, I am accepted for who I am. Nobody tells me that I have to change. Nobody tells me that there's some sort of standard or ideal that I have to reach to be gamer enough, or pro wrestling fan enough, or comic book fan enough. All you need is a sincere passion for the object. I don't know what the term is, but I guess the fandom, maybe that's a better term, in question. There's no proper way to be a comic book fan. You just need to be a comic book fan, right? There's no proper way to be an X-Men fan. There's no proper way to be a pro wrestling fan. You just are, or you aren't. Right? All people, at least in my experience, all experiences, all people in those type of spaces care about is, are you passionate about this? Do you sincerely care about it? Does this truly matter to you? Are you truly about it, right? As the phrase goes, are you about that life? That's all you need. Or at least in my experience, that's all that's ever been asked of me. The only uncomfortable thing, if you want to call it that, is that yes, I have had my cred checked, and I have had guys, give me the "it's a girl" response, right? Just being so shocked that there's a woman who sincerely likes what they like, which I can understand, being that women generally don't have a serious vested interest in comics and video games and pro wrestling and whatnot. I know plenty of girls who, for example, will watch a pro wrestling match if the wrestler is hot, which I don't blame them. Just like there are guys who will watch a pro wrestling match if the wrestling match is more mud wrestling and less, technical wrestling, or if the female competitors are attractive. I'm not going to shame anybody's reasons for watching pro wrestling, but there are more casual fans, and then there are more serious fans. The more serious fans tend to be male. So I've been through the whole, wow, wait, it's like, you actually like this type of response from men. And yes, I have had my cred checked. It's not something I mind, because in my experience, the cred check, whether it be the gamer cred check, the pro wrestling cred check, isn't about, tell me your top 3 games or your top 3 pro wrestlers, and then I will decide how fan you are, right, or how serious a wrestling fan or gaming fan you are. In my experience, it's been a prove yourself to me. You say you're a big fan. You say you love Mortal Kombat. Let's talk about it. Let's play some Mortal Kombat. You say you're a big fan of, Shawn Michaels, right? What are your favorite matches? What were his best rivalries? Right? Let's watch an HBK match. That type of thing. It's more of a, you claim you're passionate about this, show me you're passionate about it type of thing. And I don't mind that. And I admit I myself have done the same to others since. Not often, but if you tell me you're a big fan of something, I'm going to ask you about that something. And that will reveal whether or not you are being honest about your fandom love, about your devotion, right? Which I think is fair, right? If someone tells me, they're the biggest Street Fighter fan of all, if you can't tell me, what your favorite Street Fighter game is, I'm gonna kind of doubt you. Doubt that you love Street Fighter if you can't tell me what your favorite Street Fighter character is, or what your favorite game is. You can't relate any experiences. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's pretty much it, right? In my experience, I've just been accepted as I am and embraced. Nobody forces anything on me. Nobody forces me to play a certain game. Nobody forces a ideal upon me. Whereas in female spaces in my life, I feel like the girly girl identity, especially when I was a kid, a very young kid, like 5, 6, 7 years old, was, while the people who were doing it, I think, were well-meaning, the feminine identity, the girly girl identity, was something that was being forced on me, right? It was some sort of expectation I was expected to meet, set by other women, because, that's what girly girls do. Like, one of my earliest memories is getting a Barbie doll, a black Barbie doll, for a Christmas. I think it was maybe the 5th or 6th, when I was 5 or 6. So it would have been early 90s for Christmas one year. And it was a beautiful doll. Looking back on it, it was a very pretty doll, nice dark brown skin, darker than me. But nice dark brown skin, beautiful long shiny hair. If If Geeky Sparkles of Clownfish TV saw it, she would have loved it. Brushable hair. But it wasn't me. And that was the problem. I didn't like Barbie dolls. I didn't want Barbie dolls. So when my mother gave me this toy, I promptly tore the head off and asked where the Rock'em Sock'em robots I had asked for was. And that might sound, silly and childish and selfish. And yeah, looking back on it, it is. But I was a child. And the point is, at least from my perspective, it was something being forced on me. My mother knew. I'm not trying to call her out or anything. But my mother knew that her daughter did not like toys. Did not like, girly toys. Like dolls. Like Barbie dolls. So why get me a Barbie doll when you know that I don't like Barbie dolls? And then there were experiences such as when I would go over to my cousin's house. My cousin is very much a girly girl, and that's fine. Again, nothing wrong with girly girls. I want to be clear. There's nothing wrong with being feminine. There's nothing wrong with being more masculine. She's a girly girl, and when we were kids, she had, Barbie everything, right? The Barbie dolls on top of Barbie dolls, the Barbie dollhouse, all that stuff. And again, that's fine. But when we were kids, our parents, right? My mother, her mother, would make us play dolls. They would make me play with Barbie dolls, which I didn't want to do, which I made plainly clear that I didn't want to do. But I was made to do this. I was told to do this, be nice to your cousin, play with your cousin. It wasn't that I wasn't willing to play with my cousin, it's that my cousin wanted to play with something I didn't want to play with. I wanted to play with the video games, which I did, and she had a few video games that she liked. I would say I was the more serious gamer. But she had a few games, but here's the difference. At least to me, from my perspective, and I'm certainly being biased in this. I can't recall an instance when my cousin was forced to accommodate me. I can't recall an instance when my cousin was, made to play video games, or to play the video games I liked, like the fighting games. She liked them too, incidentally enough, but still, I can't recall anybody forcing her. I can't recall her mother or my mother saying, Nikki, you play, with Jean. Jean sets the activity, do what she wants. I don't recall that. If it happened, I don't remember it. What I remember is being made to, again, play dolls. Being made to go with what my cousin wanted to do, and not the reverse. And there were other times, like, for example, kids develop little cliques in school, which is normal. And I was part of a girl clique for about a week. And I didn't last in the girl clique because, they dressed in skirts and I didn't want to dress in skirts. Dear God. The last time I wore a skirt before I reached adulthood, it was a very, pretty dress, had little colorful bows. And it was cute. It was very cute. But I wasn't about being cute. And it was one of the most mortifying experiences of my life. And it's not that I was teased or anything. It was that I just felt so outside of myself. I literally had a moment when I looked into a mirror, and I'm like 6 years old. I looked into a mirror, and I did not recognize myself for a moment. Jean at 6 years old was a lot of things, but Jean didn't wear cute little, dungaree dresses, and she didn't wear cute little shoes, and she didn't wear stockings. I did not recognize myself, and this was again a look that had been forced upon me by an older, female adult, in this case, my mother. It wasn't me. It wasn't about being teased or looking bad. I wasn't teased, and no one said I looked bad. It was that I didn't look like myself. Jean, at 6 years old, ran around in jeans and in sneakers and in her favorite Batman t-shirt. That's what Jean did. That's what Jean wore. Jean didn't dress like a cutesy little girl. And being forced to dress like that really affected me. It affected me to the point that there was a time when I thought that if I ever got married in this life, I would wear a white tux, because I would be damned and dead before I would wear a wedding dress. I'm over that now. Thank goodness, but still, that's how much it impacted me. To be forced, to be made, to be something that I wasn't. And that type of force, that type of being made to conform is something I've only experienced, at least that I can recall, in female spaces. And plus in male spaces are where I made my friends. I met my friend Frankie in middle school because, we were just two kids and we started playing Pen Wars. And we started playing this, I don't like to use profanity, but there was this game called BS. You can use the full term all you like, which is basically Uno with profanity. And we would play that, and that's how we got to know each other. My best friend growing up when I was in high school, Alan, we met because we made fun of our teacher's choice in movies, and we were both big fans of WCW, and we liked Sting. Frankie, going back for a moment, he was a big fan of WWF, and we would, go back and forth. I was WCW, but he was still kind enough to, have his parents, tape the monthly WCW pay-per-views for me because I couldn't see them because I didn't have cable. And it was stuff like that. I met sincerely nice guys being a fan of dude stuff when I was in college, right? I met my friend Miguel, right? Because we were just hanging out in the same space and we got to talking. We found out we had a lot of things in common when it came to anime. There are other people that I knew in the club. For example, I think his name was Chris. Nice guy. Very, very nice guy. He's a big Nintendo fan, big Yoshi fan. Met him through the club. There was this one guy, and sadly his name escapes me at the moment. I feel so bad about that because he's a sweet soul. And he had a giant fro, and he was such a nice guy. I just can't remember his name. But he was a big fan of Bleach and One Piece and all this other stuff. And, he would just talk to me all the livelong day about it. And that's how we met and we got to know each other. Calvin was his name. Calvin. Yeah, with the fro. That was Calvin. Sorry, Calvin, your name escaped me for a moment. I apologize. And when I think about my time in male spaces, I think about some of the really cool stuff I've been able to do. For example, I was part of a web radio show when I was in college. I was one of the co-hosts. And this web radio show was, hosted by, in the beginning, 3 girls, myself, although I was a co-host. My friend Bianca was the host. Then there were 2 co-hosts, her friend Ashley, and then there was me. And we got to speak about pro wrestling and rock and roll, which we were all really big fans of. And we would talk about what was going on. I was nicknamed Mean Gene because, obviously, right, when your name is Gene, you're always going to get that pun. You're always going to get that joke. And I would dig up, stuff on the dirt sheets, and I'd come up with the news, and we just talked about wrestling, about everything about wrestling and rock and roll, and the show did well. And it was through the show that we got to meet Mr. Fuji. And yes, I do have pictures. I do have a picture of us, posing with Mr. Fuji. And it was fun. I wasn't going to meet Mr. Fuji hanging out, with girly girls, obsessing over Teen Beat magazine. Again, nothing wrong with that, but not what I want to do. And one of my favorite moments in my life is when I was 18. I turned 18, and to celebrate my birthday, my mother, my brother, myself, and my best friend at the time, Alan, we went to a pro wrestling house show. That was the first live event that I had been to as an adult, and probably the first live event I'd ever been to. And I got to see, I got to see RVD and Booker T and Triple H and Kurt Angle. I actually saw Stone Cold Steve Austin and Lita run up behind us into the seats and sit down. I got to actually, see them run up behind us, past my friend Alan's head, and just sit down and then just watch the rest of the show. I went to a few other house shows. I went to a Raw. I saw the last match that Trish Stratus had in Madison Square Garden. And I was one of the many people in the crowd, you know, when she came out after the show chanting, "Thank you, Trish! Thank you, Trish!" I never would have experienced that being in female circles. I just naturally tend toward more male-dominated things. And I tend toward them because, A, I like them, and B, I find acceptance there. Nobody tries to force me to be something that I'm not. You know, for all the talk about, you know, trying to get girls into guy spaces and all this stuff, and all this, you know, gender talk and gender wars and toxic masculinity. Dude spaces are the only time when I can think of, maybe not the only time, I shouldn't, that's probably fair, but unfair, I should say, but being in guy space is probably one of the few times where my gender isn't an issue. Beyond the initial, like, oh my God, you're a girl and you like this stuff. But once you get past that, you know, I go from being the girl to being Jean, to being a person, right? To the point where guys forget that I'm female. They're like, oh, hey, dude. Sometimes I'm like, it's dudette. But that's what I like about it. Once you get past that initial awkwardness, which is really just surprise, I'm a person. My gender doesn't matter. I don't have to game like a girl or love pro wrestling like a girl. For all this talk about dude spaces, I find them to be the most accepting. But again, that's just my experience with it, but that's why I tend to prefer male circles to more female oriented stuff. That's all I can say. I mean, my friend group today is fortunately a bit more unisex, but still, even today, I feel much more comfortable around my male friends than my female friends. No offense to my female friends, I love y'all, but okay, I'm just that tomboy, right? I'm that masculine girl, and I feel more comfortable around masculine things, including guys. So I just wanted to just share that, just get that off of my chest, because it's been running around in my brain all week. So that's it. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. See you in the next vid. Bye-bye.